Hi, in this video we're talking about the different collections on the right hand side as well as the shape generators and all the things that they can do. So when we click here, this drop down has collections. The basic ones you'll see a lot of. Again, your students will gravitate towards these characters, and so when we talk about constraints and criteria for projects, you might want to restrict some of these. The connectors make some very interesting projects. So for example, if somebody grabs this socket and puts it in here, they can put any of these balls along with it, and whatever they attach to this and whatever they attach to this can be connected later on. So if you want to make a person with a head, just really briefly, you can pull a sphere in. Let's say this is a cat. Let's give it a little pudgy leg. We're going to copy and paste this leg. Okay. And if we want the cat's head to be kind of on a swivel, what we could do is put this connector on top of the sphere. Now, what will happen you've got legs. Whatever we attach to this other side of the connector will snap right on top of this cat's shoulders, for example, here. Connectors can be used for all sorts of things. Fun projects can be just connectors that have lots of arms, for example. So definitely we will be using these as we talk about student projects. So now that's the connector category. Headed down to shape generators, there's two categories. There's featured and there's all. Now in the featured, these are the better ones, the more commonly used ones. The most interesting one is this top one. It's called Extrusion. Now it looks like a cylinder when you pull it in, but something cool is available right here. If you change the shape over here on the side, the shape automatically shifts to whatever you have. It can be a lot of fun just to start playing with this and see what kind of thing ends up appearing on your screen and then building from that. These two dots on a line affect the curve, and this shape that I've just made would be a lot harder to design any other way except bringing the extrusion in and editing the shape. There's all sorts of organic shapes you can make. This kind of looks like a lobster claw. So if we start going down that, really quickly a kid could start making something that's kind of interesting. So if this is a lobster claw with a lobster arm, we'll go behind that. Maybe we throw a connector on and the arm will move freely. So that's the extrusion. There are all sorts of other ones, mostly for specific uses. So if we bring the fidget spinner in here, just for an example, we printed some of these. A lot of them have break because this is so thin. Well, you can change different options over here on this setting. So the arm count, very easily change it to 6 arms. Arm rotate. Sometimes you end up having to play with these just to see what they do. This looks like a shutter all of a sudden. someone could say, hey, wow, this looks like a flower, and tweak it, and all of a sudden they have a whole new project that they're working on. Bearing diameter sleeve wall. If we increase that, or we make the wall thicker, or excuse me, the overall thickness, these extrusions can get interesting really quickly. Now it takes some time to play with a lot of these, so I'll show you some of the more useful ones. Sometimes you'll have somebody trying to curve some text around something. Let me start that over. If you make a mistake and you're trying to adjust something, a lot of times it's just easier to delete it and go back, grab the work plane, and bring in it again. A lot of students will accidentally transform something in a way that they don't like and spend a lot of time working and working and working when they should just delete it and start over. Now here we are with, if we can click the text, you can change, well, you get the idea. Other options. Here it would be an option for some text that's standing up. These letters can be standing up all by themselves on top of something that is 3D printed. When we talk about 3D printed in a different class, we'll end up talking about how support has to be built up, and you need to think about what kind of supports are going to be printed with it. But having something print like this will work as long as it is overlapping. Now this E is just barely touching. I would make sure it's overlapping just for the sake of the 3D printer being able to have something to really print to. But that's another text generator. Now there are multiple pages. You can see how I change pages at the bottom here. Page 2 has a snap and socket, and if someone's trying to make a helicopter, for example, you'll see this piece used for their blade. Hopefully they see the options to change everything about it. For example, instead of 4 blades, maybe they want to give it 5. And if it's a helicopter, send the length out. Once one student finds this and is using it, you'll see lots of projects that are centered around one shape generator. So that was under featured shape generators. There are more in all. So it's got all 50 states. It's got other countries. You can bring in and customize some stairs, for example. And as you use this and get more familiar, you'll find the things that you like and end up using. So you'd expect this stair. How many levels do we want? How many levels? How thick are they? This is much easier than trying to model that by yourself. A lot of kids will find this house, and so I've printed a lot of this house with one extra detail added. You should know that they can at least customize parts of the house, so you're not printing the exact same house every time. That's all I want to talk about shape generators for now. To look at the other collections here, now there are circuits, assemblies, and components. These would be useful if you are having kids actually model something that's going to have an LED in it, for example. But that would be pretty advanced at this point. There are dinosaur parts that already have snap connectors built in. If you pull this in, the scaling of this is locked. So you're you're not able to change the sizes. They do that to make the connectors fit. If I change the size of this, now that connector is going to be the wrong size to fit on that ball. So it'd be pretty simple for a student to, here's a dinosaur head with a connector, here's the neck, but maybe they're putting it on a different type of body. You could just print one of each of these parts and get a complete dinosaur. I would say it's better to at least custom design some part of it. As soon as kids start going through these collections and saying, oh, I want this and this, they stop trying to design things on their own and they just try to find things that they like, mostly. So that was the dinosaur. There's the same thing for a skeleton. Now, down here at the bottom it says Favorites, Parts Collection, and Your Shape Generators. This can be really handy if you find something that you want to use often. So my favorites right now is empty. If I go back to my shape generators, there was a shape generator on page 16 I really liked. It's not useful if you're going to print it, but this tree can be generated from all of these different options. I want make it heavy, make it a bit taller. You can make it branch out more. Now if this tree is something that I want to be able to find, instead of having to go back to page 16 of my shape generators, I can just click the star up at the top. Now what happens is this tree shows up in favorites. So if someone's using a couple of connectors all the time, you can star it, and have all of that available to you in one place. Now, at this point, before you're teaching anyone how to do this, it should be your job to go through and be familiar with these, play around with it, because you'll have a student who's doing a project and they'll say, I'm trying to make this, and it's really fun to say, hey, there's something that's a part of that already made for you. Check out this place, check out this, because they'll get further faster and have more fun doing it, because you know what you're doing. So spend some time in each one of these categories, check it out, and then we'll be back for the next lesson.